exquisite delight in felicitating of our honored chief guest, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan Garu, and we request Dr. Satta Garu to lead the felicitation.
I request our chief guest, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan Garu, to give his message, which will be inspiring to all the students here.
Sabhake Namaskaram. You all can follow Telugu, or anybody who does not understand Telugu, please raise your hands. Okay, I will mostly speak in Telugu, but for those who are not familiar with Telugu, I will occasionally switch over to English. ముందుగా మిమ్మల్ని అందరిని అభినందిస్తున్నాను. ఓ గొప్ప విద్యా సంస్థలో విద్యను అభ్యసించే అవకాశం మీకు దొరికింది. ఇక్కడున్న డాక్టర్ అంజిరెడ్డి గారు కానీ, మీ ప్రిన్సిపాల్ గారు కానీ, మా ఆశా గారు కానీ, మేమందరం కూడా గుంటూరు మెడికల్ చదువుకున్నాం. 8 ఎకరాలు, ఆ కాలేజీ మొత్తం 8 ఎకరాలు, ఇరుగ్గా ఉండేది. ఏం మాస్టరు? చాలా ఇరుగ్గా ఉండేది, బిల్డింగ్ మీద బిల్డింగ్ పడిపోయినట్టుగా. ఇక్కడ మన గంగరాజు గారి పుణ్యం అని చెప్పని దాదాపు 100 ఎకరాల విస్తీర్ణంలో ఒక పెద్ద యూనివర్సిటీ నిర్మాణం చేయొచ్చు అక్కడ. ఈ లైబ్రరీ చూస్తేనే అర్థమవుతుంది ఎలాంటి ఎమ్యూనిటీస్ ఉన్నాయి ఇక్కడ అని చెప్పని. అట్లాగే విద్య వ్యాపారమైనటువంటి సమాజంలో గంగరాజు గారు వారి మేనేజ్మెంటు దీనికి ఇవ్వడమే కానీ ఇక్కడి నుంచి తీసుకునే సమస్య లేదు. ఎంత వీలుంటే అంత, ఎంత అవసరమైతే అంత విద్యా సంస్థకి ఎక్కడ కూడా లోపం ఉండకూడదని చెప్పని మంచి విలువలతో, సమాజం పట్ల నిబద్ధతతో, దూరదృష్టితో, అవగాహనతో ఓ గొప్ప విద్యా సంస్థ కోసం ఇక్కడ ప్రయత్నాలు చేస్తున్నారు. వారిని ప్రత్యేకంగా అభినందిస్తూ మిమ్మల్ని అభినందిస్తున్నాను ఇలాంటి సంస్థలో విద్య పొందే అవకాశం దక్కినందుకు. నేను 3 అంశాలకు పరిమితం అవుతాను. ఇందాక మీ సూపరింటెండెంట్ గారు గంట సేపు మాట్లాడుతున్నారు, భయపడబోకండి. మొట్టమొదటిది మీ విద్యను గురించి. మన తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల్లో ఎంసెట్కున్నంత కష్టం బహుశా దేశంలో ఎక్కడా లేదు, ప్రపంచంలో ఎక్కడ లేకపోవచ్చు. మీరందరూ ఈ చైతన్యకో నారాయణకో వెళ్ళి పొద్దున్నుంచి రాత్రి దాకా కుస్తీ పట్టి ఆ 2 ఏళ్ల పాటు అదొక చేదు కాలంగా జీవితంలో ఇక మళ్ళీ ఇలాంటిది రాకూడదు, అయిపోయిందని చెప్పని చాలా కఠినమైన పోటీ పరీక్షలో కూర్చుని ర్యాంకులు తెచ్చుకున్నవాళ్ళు. అక్కడి వరకు బాగానే ఉంది. ఆ తర్వాత ఏ మేరకు మనకి ఎన్ని ఆశలతో మనం ఇక్కడికి వచ్చాం, ఎంత అద్భుతమైన అవకాశం, ఒక అత్యంత పవిత్రమైన వృత్తిలో శిక్షణ పొందే అవకాశం మనకు వచ్చింది. దాన్ని ఏ మేరకు మనం ఉపయోగించుకున్నామని ఆలోచిస్తే మనం చేయవలసింది ఇంకా చాలా ఉంది. ఎందుకంటే మీరందరూ పరీక్షలు పాస్ కావడంలో బాగా ఆరితేరారు. పరీక్షల్లో మంచి మార్కులు రావడం ఎట్లాగా, లేకపోతే ఫస్ట్ క్లాస్ రావడం ఎట్లాగా అన్న విషయంలో దిస్ జనరేషన్ ఈజ్ అవుట్ స్టాండింగ్. అండ్ ఇన్ టర్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ బేసిక్ నాలెడ్జ్ ఆల్సో, థియరిటికల్ నాలెడ్జ్, ఐ బిలీవ్ మెనీ ఆఫ్ యూ ఆర్ యాక్చువల్లీ pretty good, because you now have many more opportunities to learn and you have technology at your fingertips. But that's not medicine, that's not healthcare. Healthcare is much more than this. What I appeal to you is, దీనికి ఎక్కువ పొడిగించకుండా, please take advantage of this opportunity. Make the most of it. This will not come again and again. Read as much as you can in medical sciences and other subjects. Relish it. Go to the best scholars, not some guidebooks and some silly fellows who simply give you answers to last 5 years' questions. Actually, develop enthusiasm, love for that knowledge. Because thousands of great scientists and clinicians labored over a century and a half, because most of the medicine that you and I are studying or learning is about 150 years old or subsequently, but not before that. There's not much that is relevant before that. But thousands sacrificed enormously, spent their lifetimes. Some people actually gave up their lives in order to enhance our knowledge of medicine, in order to ameliorate suffering, in order to make the world a better place for everybody, as the principal said. You get into that romance of it. You understand what it is. Understand the history of medicine. Understand the spirit of medicine and medical care and health care. And go to the masters, go to the best. And read widely, not only medical sciences, but also the rest of the world. Because there is so much to learn, so much to relish, so much to enjoy, so much to empower you to make a difference to your lives. Because above all, you're human beings. You cannot be great clinicians unless you're great human beings. You cannot be first-rate professionals unless you love fellow human beings. Unless your heart really responds to their concerns, their suffering. That life becomes a rich life if you actually make a difference to others. So my appeal to all of you is, think deeply. Make the most of this opportunity. Not only learning medicine, not only the textbooks, but the clinical skills, the clinical acumen. At the end of the day, it is not the theory that matters. It is your ability to clinically examine and then arrive at a diagnosis. And once you do it well enough and long enough, it becomes intuitive. In a second, in a minute, you can do what machines can do in hours. In some ways, I feel that the gadgetry, the modern diagnostics actually are killing clinical medicine. While you must relish the gadgetry, the diagnostics, the opportunities that modern age offers, you must never lose the clinical skill, the bedside manner, the ability to actually give that succor and relief to the patients. మా అందరికీ హచ్సన్లో ఫస్ట్ పేజ్లో ఫ్రంట్ పేజ్లో ఒక కోట్ ఉండేది. ఐ డోంట్ నో ఇఫ్ ఇట్స్ దేర్ ఇన్ క్లినికల్ మెథడ్స్ నౌ. ఐఎమ్ పారాఫ్రేజింగ్ హచ్సన్. ఐ డోంట్ రిమెంబర్ ది ఎగ్జాక్ట్ వర్డ్స్. ఆశా గుర్తుందేమో నాకు తెలీదు. When you haunt the corridors of the hospital at nights, or when you walk the corridors of the hospital at nights, the ghosts that haunt the hospital will come up to you and they do not ask you, why did you not understand the electrophoretic pattern significance of gamma globulins? They will not ask you, why did you miss something in your MRI or your PET scan? They will ask you, doctor, why did you not do rectal examination? Why did you not understand the meaning of my clinical science? It's the clinical knowledge, clinical acumen that is the most important asset of a doctor. If you give up clinical knowledge, clinical assessment of a patient, and depend only on the machines, a computer can replace you. In this age of artificial intelligence, you no longer require a physician. If that's all what medicine is, you no longer require a physician. What I find distressing nowadays is medical students are reluctant to go to hospital and learn at the bedside. They think study is in the textbooks and examinations. In our generation, we were not particularly good students. We bunked classes. We never really went to classes, but we invariably went to hospital and spent those 3-4 hours every single day. Invariably examined patients, sat with the postgraduate students, with assistant professors, whoever is the best professor, doesn't matter which ward we are posted in, we went to the best assistant professor, best professor, and tried to learn from them. Clinical skills what make you a clinician, not textbook rote learning. Your examinations are a farce in this country. In general, university examinations are a farce. Sadly, medical examinations are not much better. They should be infinitely better. Dr. Anjireddy Garu and your principal and I, we were discussing before this event. You go to Britain, you have what is called objectively structured clinical examination, OSCE. Unless you are clinically sound, unless you are capable of examining a patient and rationally come to a logical conclusion about the potential diagnosis and the management, you will not clear the examination. And that is assessed very objectively, very fairly. They have mastered that. We can easily bring those techniques here. That's why my appeal to Dr. Anjireddy Garu, an outstanding clinician, a great example of a teacher and a medical professional to all of us, a man who is an inspiration for more than a generation. I admire him a great deal. I appeal to him to sit with the Vice Chancellor of the Health University and some of the leading medical experts of the state. Private or government doesn't matter. Whether they're in teaching colleges or not doesn't matter. There are outstanding people available. Let us put their brains together and get the best inputs from the UK and other countries and improve the assessment of the students, of examination. Once the examination improves, once the students know what is expected of them, I'm absolutely certain these bright kids will do outstandingly well. They have the ability. There's no point blaming them. We are failing them. Our teachers, our universities, our examination system, they are failing them. And they can do much better. And I appeal to all the youngsters, challenge yourselves. Don't look at an examination as merely passing the examination or getting some scores. That's irrelevant. It is to actually equipping yourself with skills and knowledge and creating knowledge and most of all, applying knowledge. And that's what all science is about. The second broad point I'd like to talk about is healthcare. You all have joined this profession in order to be healthcare professionals, in order to eliminate avoidable suffering. I do not know if there is a God, but I certainly believe that there is sin. I believe the greatest sin is avoidable suffering. If somebody dies of old age or an incurable disease, while it is sad, there's nothing much we can do about it. But if somebody suffers needlessly from a preventable disease or a treatable cause, that is a great sin. And this country has enormous amount of such sin committed every single day. And your profession and the healthcare system, they provide the answers. We haven't done enough to improve that. We have done a little bit compared to what it was earlier. But relative to what we are capable of doing, relative to what the rest of the world is doing, we are still abysmally poor. We still have 10 million cases of malaria every year in this country. 3 million new cases of tuberculosis every year. We still have 1.2 million children dying below the age of 5, and most of them due to preventable causes. 1.2 million children in a year. 3,500 children a day below 5 years of age. 60 million people, 6 crore people, that's equal to population of Britain. They are becoming poor every year for want of quality medical care. Either because they had to bear the burden of the healthcare costs, or their productivity and their work are affected because of the illness. Either way, they were not poor on the first day of January of the year, but by the end of the year, 6 crore Indians are becoming poor every year. And failure of healthcare is the single biggest cause of impoverishment and indebtedness in this country. The cause of debt, cause of poverty, single biggest cause. There is so much we can do. There is so much we need to do. And there is so much we are capable of doing. Because we are second to none. You said Advitiya. We really are second to none in many areas. We have a large number of medical personnel. We probably train the largest number of doctors and nurses and paramedics in this country. And there's enormous fascination for these professions, tremendous demand for these professions. If there's a quality issue, we can improve that easily. And our doctors are unparalleled. They're as good as the best in the world. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we didn't have that privilege. But today we have the opportunity. Today, we don't have to read in textbooks alone. We actually are able to learn from the best in the world and bring those practices here. 40 years ago, a coronary bypass surgery was very unheard of in this country. People had to go to United States. When Akkineeni Nageswara Garu, the great thespian, when he went to United States and got the surgery done, he told Telugu people, that in dramatic flourish, how the heart was stopped and practically he was dead and how he was resurrected. All those they were romantic stories. But now we are doing tens of thousands in this state and in this country, with a safety record as world. You take knee replacement, you take kidney transplantation, you take, of course, corneal transplant, which is much more common. On many other interventions which were unheard of earlier, they're happening with increasing frequency in this country at a very low cost, with a safety record on par with the best in the world, and at the lowest possible cost. Our pharma industry, and your chairman is a doyen of that, one of those. It's a world champion. I don't know if you're aware. Indian pharma industry is a world champion. If the rest of the world opens their doors to our products, the prices of medicines globally will plummet. The moment Indian pharma industry entered the African AIDS antiretroviral drug market, the prices came down by 95%. We have the power to transform the world. We have so much of strength. Of what use is this strength if we do not transform our own healthcare system? I gave you some very painful numbers. Behind those numbers is a phenomenal tragedy every day, every year in this country. A needless tragedy, avoidable suffering. We can do phenomenally. You are learning to be doctors, healthcare providers, medical experts. I would appeal to you to become healthcare experts too. You be the champions of healthcare in India. As medical professionals, you must not only be good doctors, but also people who would fight for healthcare in this country. Fight to make sure that every single Indian, irrespective of birth, rich or poor, urban or rural, male or female, they get access to quality healthcare without out-of-pocket expenditure. Instead, we are going more and more towards tertiary care hospitals, high-cost care. The number of PET scans and MRIs in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana is nobody's business. Even rich countries don't have so many. Not that they are not necessary, but what is truly necessary is missing. We require a first-rate primary health care system, a GP system, so that every family can access a good quality general practitioner who will act as a gatekeeper to secondary and tertiary care services, referral services, who will provide first-rate primary care and family care at the community level, without any out-of-pocket burden on the family. We require a very viable secondary care involving public and private sector. We require to improve our tertiary care capability by way of infrastructure, so that people don't have to depend on very high-cost private hospitals for tertiary care interventions. Because please do not come to the conclusion that the more spent is better for the country. While healthcare requires more expenditure does not guarantee better outcomes. United States of America spends 18% of the GDP. Almost 1 out of every $5 earned in that country, they are spent on healthcare. But the United States is by no means at the top of the healthcare outcomes. It actually ranks about 24th in the world in terms of healthcare outcomes. In per capita terms, as a share of GDP, in aggregate terms, the amount of money America spends on healthcare is unbelievable. But America is only 24th in the world in healthcare. India spends pitifully small amounts. And Indian government spends only 1% of GDP, the lowest in the world among all significant countries. We need to spend a lot more, but we also need to spend it wisely. Not the American way. Not merely tertiary care. We also need tertiary care. I mentioned coronary bypass, for instance. We need that, but that cannot be the primary approach to healthcare in the country. Today, the fastest growing industry in India is healthcare industry, because people say there's a lot of demand because of failure to supply quality services. But behind that demand is enormous drain. Millions of people are getting impoverished. I mentioned to you the 60 million people, 6 crore people equal to population of Britain becoming poor every year. As a result, for no fault of the doctors, the medical profession is increasingly mistrusted. The patients used to love and respect and admire and worship doctors 30, 40 years ago. Today, patients think the fellow with a white coat and a stethoscope is their enemy. The moment something goes wrong, they are lashing out. They are angry. The trust, which is a vital ingredient in healthcare, is missing. The patients are suffering, the profession is suffering. This is about your future. If the community dislikes you intensely, if they see you as the problem, not the solution, then you will not have a happy life. And that's why you have to really be the champions of healthcare delivery in this country. I don't want to go into any great details. There are ways of doing it. Those who are interested, please go to the website, fdrindia.org. With enormous evidence and logic, we come out with the things that are required to be done. I fought very hard for the past 15 years with only marginal success to transform the healthcare system of India. We are still nowhere near accomplishing the goals. But we need to accomplish them. It took me some 15 to 18 years to just get one vaccine, MMR, particularly the rubella vaccine, institutionalized as part of the public health vaccination program. Because all of you know as medical students, rubella is the single biggest preventable cause of congenital abnormalities. Almost 250,000 children are born in this country with preventable congenital abnormalities only because these girls before marriage or before pregnancy did not have the vaccination against rubella. It is so easily achievable at such an affordable cost, ridiculously low cost. And yet, even after I started my advocacy for rubella vaccine 22 years ago, almost 5 million children were born in this country with preventable abnormalities. I feel a deep sense of anger and shame. I feel good that at last it's now happening. At last now it is being rolled out. MMR vaccine or MR vaccine has now become part of the public health vaccination program. I feel good about that, but I also feel bad that it took 20 years. I had to fight so hard to get this one small thing done. And 5 million children suffered in the process for no fault of theirs. And that's why failure of healthcare is the greatest sin inflicted on a society. You are in a profession. You have the knowledge, you have the skills, you have the understanding that very few people on earth have. What you do is real. It's not illusory. It's real wealth creation. It is real transformation of lives. It's real enhancement of productivity of human beings. It's real alleviation of suffering and pain. There's nothing more beautiful than that. When you save a patient, when you actually save a life, because you quickly diagnose it's a hypoglycemic coma rather than hyperglycemic coma. You quickly give simply some hypertonic glucose, for instance. Or you find some other easily manageable emergency and you save a patient. The high you get is something unbelievable. There's nothing that matches it. When you deliver a baby, when you think of the future of that baby, in whose coming into existence you gave some help, the possibilities that are pregnant, what the child could become, and how you could play a small role in making the difference, there's nothing that gives you greater high. No amount of money, no amount of glory, no amount of power equals that. You have an extraordinary opportunity. Relish it. Enjoy it. Make the full use of it. Acquire knowledge, create knowledge, apply knowledge. Make a difference to the most number of people in the most sensible way, at the least cost to the society. Finally, కొంతమంది హౌస్ సర్జన్స్ నా దగ్గరికి వచ్చారు. చైర్మన్ గారు నేను కూర్చుంటే, ఇన్ ఎవ్రీ జనరేషన్ వీ హ్యావ్ దిస్ యాంగ్విష్. మా జనరేషన్లో మాకు ఉండింది. ఈ దేశాన్ని చూస్తుంటే ఎంతో బాధ, దిగులు, అసహనం, కోపం, కసి, ఆవేశం, ఆదర్శం, ఆత్మవిశ్వాసం అన్నీ కలిసి ఉంటాయి. ఆనాడు మా తరంలో ఎట్లా ఉందో ఇప్పుడు మీ తరంలో కూడా అలాగే నాకు కనిపిస్తుంది. I can only say one thing. You live in a fantastic world. దిస్ ఇస్ ద బెస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ పాసిబుల్ ఏజెస్. మనకు చాలా సమస్యలు ఉన్నాయి, కానీ చాలా అద్భుతమైన పరిష్కారాలు మన కళ్ళ ముందు ఉన్నాయి. ప్రపంచ చరిత్రలో, మానవ చరిత్రలో మరి అన్నలు కూడా మనుషుల బాధని తొలగించేటువంటి అవకాశం ఇప్పుడున్నంతగా లేదు. మనుషుల శక్తి సామర్థ్యాలను వెలికి తీసే అవకాశం ఇప్పుడున్నంత లేదు. వీఆర్ లక్కీ బికాజ్ వీ హ్యావ్ టెక్నాలజీ నౌ అవైలబుల్, accessible to everybody. We have resources. They are not enough because nobody has enough resources. ఎంత సంపద ఉన్నా కూడా మీరు గంగరాజు గారిని అడిగితే చేయాలనుకున్న చాలా ఉన్న జయప్రకాష్ గారు చాలట్లేదు అంటారు. బిల్ గేట్స్ దగ్గరికి వెళితే మీరు ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్నది రిచెస్ట్ పీపుల్ కదా అని చెప్పంటే, అబ్బో నాకు డ్రీమ్స్ చాలా పెద్దవి, ఈ డబ్బులు ఏముంది చాలట్లేదు అంటారు. మనుషులు సంపద ఎప్పుడు చాలదు. కానీ వీ హ్యావ్ ఇనఫ్ నౌ టు ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ tens of millions of lives. We have the ability for the first time in human history. We have the technology and resources. Do we have the skill? Do we have the passion? Do we have the leadership to institutionalize mechanisms to get the best results for everybody? That is where the challenge lies. That is where India has spectacularly failed. That's why we are looking at China. We are looking at many other countries and saying, how come they have achieved and we are failing? Because we simply have not exhibited the kind of leadership required. We have the same technology access, we have the same resources, but we haven't simply built institutions to deliver the best outcomes. We need to do that. But we can do that. Our education is in shambles. For a society where so many bright kids are there who work very hard, your parents sacrifice a great deal. ఇక్కడ మీ తల్లిదండ్రులు కొంతమంది ఉంటారు. మన దేశంలో పిల్లల కోసం తల్లిదండ్రులు చేస్తున్నంత త్యాగం ప్రపంచంలో మరెక్కడ చేరు. వాళ్ళు తిన్నా తినకపోయినా, వాళ్ళ అవసరాలు తీరినా తిరగపోయినా, ఏమన్నా మా పిల్లల బతుకు కోసం, వాళ్ళ అవకాశాల కోసం, వాళ్ళ చదువు కోసం, వాళ్ళ ఎదగడం కోసం, వాళ్ళ గొప్పవాళ్ళు కావటం కోసం, వాళ్ళ శక్తి సామర్థ్యాలు వికసించడం కోసం ఈ దేశంలో ఉన్న సంప్రదాయం ఇది. ఏ కులమైనా, ఏ మతమైనా, ఏ ప్రాంతమైనా సరే, నా పిల్లలు నాకంటే గొప్పగా ఉండాలి, దానికోసం నేను ఏ త్యాగమైనా చేస్తాను అనుకోనటువంటి తల్లిదండ్రులు ఈ దేశంలో ఉండరు. ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నా కూడా విద్య అందట్లా. ప్రభుత్వం డబ్బులు ఖర్చు పెడుతోంది. ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లోనే కేవలం పాఠశాల విద్య కోసం 28,000 కోట్ల రూపాయలని ప్రభుత్వం ఖర్చు పెడుతోంది. 28,000 కోట్ల రూపాయలు ప్రతి ఏడాది. ఒక్కొక్క బిడ్డ మీద 70,000 ఖర్చు పెడుతోంది. మీలో దాదాపు ఎవరో కూడా ఈ గవర్నమెంట్ స్కూల్కి వెళ్ళి ఉండరు, ఇంత డబ్బు ఖర్చు పెడుతున్నా కూడా. ప్రైవేట్ స్కూళ్ళు బాగున్నాయని కాదు, అవి 190 అధ్వాన్నంగా ఉన్నాయి. అంగట్లో అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి, అల్లు నోట్లో సేను ఉన్నది. డబ్బు లేక కాదు, చదువు కావాలన్న కోరిక లేక కాదు, మనకి గొప్ప సంస్కృతి లేక కాదు, విద్వత్తుని పోషించి విద్వత్తుని గౌరవించే సంస్కృతి లేక కాదు, తల్లిదండ్రుల త్యాగం లేక కాదు, సమాజం విద్యను గౌరవించక కాదు, మనకి బుద్ధి లేక. దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ యాక్సెప్టబుల్. అలాగే హెల్త్ కేర్ ఇందాక చూసాం. వీ హ్యావ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. విత్ అ బిట్ ఆఫ్ విజ్డమ్ వీ కెన్ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ దిస్ కంట్రీ. ఆర్ అగ్రికల్చర్, ఆర్ రూల్ ఆఫ్ లా, టేక్ ఎనీ సెక్టర్. We can make wonderful things happen, but they will not happen because we chant mantras. We have to make them happen. We have to learn from the best practices all over the world, our own experience. We have to institutionalize them. There is no mantra. There is no prime minister who is going to change it. There is no chief minister who is going to change it. There is no district collector who is going to change it. It is we, the people, who are going to change it. And particularly you, the people, the bright young people of India with education, with the ability to think and to provide solutions and to work for those solutions. No society is transformed without that effort. No miracle happens without those foundations. I ask of you, please acquire this optimism based on reality, because we have the technology, we have the resources, we have the opportunity. You take the challenges of India as an opportunity. If all these challenges are overcome, then what is the work for you to do? It's an opportunity for a bright mind, for an earnest heart. This is an opportunity. You can make a difference. It's because my predecessors didn't really do what could have been done. I could do 200,000 acres of irrigation in one district and transform the lives of 100,000 families. It could have been done by anybody, anytime. Take this challenge as an opportunity, because you really have an opportunity. You take life as an adventure. Your principal said some very poignant words at the end of his speech. And being a microbiologist, he talked about the acid test. At the end of the day, how much difference did we make to our fellow human beings' lives? Is the world much better because of us than when we entered, or our presence didn't make much of a difference? Perhaps it is and worsened it. This is a question each of us has to answer for ourselves. That's how societies prosper. We have phenomenal opportunity. Do not lose heart. But there are challenges. Let me give you a story from our own profession. How many of you heard of Ignaz Semmelweis? Raise your hands. Ignaz Semmelweis. Okay, just one or two teachers. Almost no student. You all should learn a little bit about him and many others like him, the great heroes of medical profession. Semmelweis was born in 1819 in Vienna, Austria. He became a physician, a doctor, because medicine was always a respected profession throughout the ages. Even if they didn't know much about medicine, even if they didn't follow science, it was always a respected profession, always a noble profession. He rose to be a physician. In those days, when Semmelweis was practicing medicine, the mortality rate of women on account of childbirth was 20 to 30%, sometimes as high as 400 childbirths. 20 or 30 or 40 women died during or around or after childbirth on account of the problems related to childbirth. The commonest cause was what they called puerperal fever. It was not during childbirth, but after childbirth, during the puerperal period, the woman used to have fever. They had no idea what it was about, and in most cases, she died. Remember, that was the era when the word bacteria was not known. Bacteria were not discovered. Antibiotics, of course, were not known. There was no understanding of sterilization or hygiene. Very crude era. Semmelweis, he conducted some experiments. He tried out some methods because there was no scientific basis. He had no clue because he had no idea why this fever was caused or why the death is caused. But he just, as a good, earnest medical doctor and a man of science, he conducted many experiments. And he discovered that if only the doctor washed his hands properly, equivalent of today's sterilization, before attending on a patient and after attending on her, after assisting her in labor, before going to the next patient, if only you washed your hands properly, he discovered that the death rates came down dramatically. From 30-40%, they came down to 1 or 2%. There cannot be anything more dramatic. I mean, imagine reducing death rate by 40 times or 50 times. It's an incredible number. In Semmelweis, he tried to educate not the fellow human beings of Europe, but the fellow doctors of Europe. Remember, by that time, Europe was very enlightened. Already the Industrial Revolution was taking shape. Industrial Revolution was essentially between 1760 and 1840. Semmelweis' work was post-1840. So after the main Industrial Revolution of the continent of Europe, age of science and enlightenment, age of technology, age of optimism, age of rationalism, he tried to educate the doctors of Europe. Please wash your hands. You know what the doctor said? They said, "You are insane. You are utterly mad. How dare you tell us to wash our hands?" The men of science, the doctors whose job it was to save lives, mostly because they were men of science, they were not women. So they didn't care, I suppose, about women's lives. So they said, "Who are you to tell us to wash our hands? How dare you tell us? You're insane. You're mad." Not one doctor said, "Let me test this hypothesis. Let me actually try and wash my hands and see if I can reduce mortality." Not one doctor of Europe did that. They branded Semmelweis as insane. He was institutionalized in a mental asylum in those days. And until recently, if you're in a mental asylum, generally you were treated very badly. 150 years ago, you can imagine, it was a terrible thing. He was treated cruelly. 160 years ago. He was beaten up very badly. Ultimately, he died of those injuries at the age of 46 in 1865. That is mankind. Mankind doesn't always understand what is in its best interest. Mankind doesn't always admire or worship its great pioneers and thinkers and heroes. Mankind sometimes punishes them, hangs them, or crucifies them. But there is good news. Just one generation later, 3 great men whose names many of you must be familiar, they came. They were all contemporaries. They all knew the work of Ignatius Semmelweis. Robert Koch, you all know Koch? Koch's postulates and Koch's bacilli? Forgotten? Yes or no? Okay. Then Louis Pasteur, the man who is behind sterilization. The understanding of sterilization today is largely Louis Pasteur's work. And third man, anybody who can give third man's name? Lister, Joseph Lister, the man who is, the moment you Google the expression hand washing, you will find Lister's name. The mouthwash, many people used even today, Listerine, named after Lister. All 3 were contemporaries. They were influenced by Semmelweis' work and sacrifice, and they changed the world. The world was never the same again. We understood bacteria, we understood sterilization, we understood hygiene, and women never died in such numbers because of puerperal fever. Millions of people were saved, not only women, but millions of people were saved. That is what gives us optimism. In the short term, we are not very smart as human beings. A few individuals maybe. But collectively, we are not very smart. We don't always understand our self-interest. In any sphere, it may be medicine, it may be agriculture, it may be politics or management or science and technology, any area. In general, mankind is not particularly smart in the short term. A few intrepid pioneers, a few utterly honest people who search for truth dispassionately, no matter what obstacles they faced, they see it, but most people do not see it. But in the long term, generationally, mankind has enough capacity to understand what is in its best interest. Never lose heart. Therein lies the immense source of optimism. That's how mankind is what it is today. In just about 150 years, Semmelweis died in 1865. It's just about 153 years. The world changed in medical science alone in a way that was inconceivable in 1860s. That is the beauty of mankind. That is the beauty of modernity. Not only in medicine, but in every sector. We can reshape the world during your lifetimes. In a generation's time. We can transform the plight of our fellow human beings in a way that our ancestors could only have dreamt, but never accomplished. We have immense possibility and potential. Make the most of it. You are in a wonderful institution that nurtures you, that treats you with respect, that gives you opportunity, that contributes to the institution, not take out from that institution, because they understand your chairman, your management, your teachers, they understand the value of building a great future. They know that the future lies in building great minds. They are doing their job. You must do your job for your sake, for our sake. You must grab this opportunity with both the hands. It's an immense opportunity. Relish it, rejoice it. Understand the world around you and be a part of the solution, not be a part of the problem. Be happy, cheerful, optimistic, confident, knowledgeable, empowered, not weak, not meek, not lacking in self-confidence, not with shoulders crouching, not with head bowed in shame, but with confidence, head held high. Seize the opportunities. Enjoy yourselves. Have good lives, because ultimately we are all entitled to have a good life. You have one life after all. You have to make the most of it. But a truly good life is not only about making something for myself, it's also making a difference to those around me, to the extent that it's humanly possible. And you are in the right profession to make that happen. I'm sure you will make that happen. And I'm sure in a generation's time, the medical profession of this country can say, we made a difference. We no longer have the 60 million Indians impoverished every year, or 1.2 million children below 5 years of age dying every year. We have made a difference. And equally, I am sure your generation will be able to say after a generation that we transformed our country. Mass poverty is a thing of the past. Human beings are able to fulfill their potential. Every child, irrespective of birth, has now an opportunity to make a difference to herself. You must be able to say in good conscience, we are not able to say that. I am not able to say this. After struggling for 40 years, maybe 44 years ago, when I took this pledge that I will devote myself to improving this country and nothing else, I am not in a position to say that we have accomplished it. But you are in a position to say that if we work hard, because we know enough now, we have enough knowledge, we have enough resources, it's very close at hand. Grab the opportunity with both the hands. Transform yourselves and transform this country. And be very worthy and happy and fulfilled human beings. I wish you all the very best. Good luck to you, and God bless you.